The police, the judges, and the courts are all part of the world's most powerful criminal enterprise.
So to clarify, you're calling for the overthrow of the Spanish government?
No. I'm calling for the overthrow of all governments, politicians, religious fanatics, brainwashing by corporations, the corruption of the banking system gone. Gone. Washington, Berlin, Beijing will be graveyards. And only then people will understand there is a better way to run this world.
And that's what you really want here, worldwide revolution.
Governments must fall.
Good morning, everyone. It is August 5th, 2018. I'm Eric. How's everyone doing? I hope you're well. I'm here at the Free Thought Project. Rampant child rape exposed at detention centers as HIV-positive worker caught raping kids. This comes from Jack Burns. After hundreds of immigrant children were separated from their parents and forced to spend weeks in detention centers, and the horrific stories of abuse from the workers who were supposed to be caring for the children are finally coming to light. An HIV-positive man who was a youth worker responsible for caring for immigrant children in Phoenix was charged with sexually abusing at least 8 teenage boys detained over a one-year period between 2016 and 2017. Lavian Pacheco is accused of performing sex acts on 2 boys who were 15 to 17 years old at the time they were assaulted. According to Time, several of the boys have elected to be tested for HIV as a result. Pacheco's arrest is the second such case involving Phoenix area Southwest Key facilities. As the Free Thought Project has reported, Southwest Key is a nonprofit organization with a federal contract to run the detention facilities that house immigrant children who have been separated from their parents or arrived in the country as unaccompanied minors. In June, we reported Southwest Key's detention facilities in Brownsville, Texas, had denied entry to U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon. Now, Southwest Key is once again in the news, this time for hiring numerous individuals who have been convicted of molesting kids, or who now stand accused of sexually abusing the teens and children they were supposed to be protecting. Unfortunately, Pacheco is not the only Southwest Key employee arrested for taking advantage of the most vulnerable members of society. Fernando Magaz Negrete was arrested on Tuesday, also in Maricopa County, and charged with abusing a 14-year-old immigrant girl. The girl's 16-year-old roommate told authorities she witnessed an encounter whereby Negrete is accused of kissing and fondling the girl. Video surveillance reportedly shows Negrete approaching the room several times throughout the night, although the entrance to the room was outside of the camera's view. How convenient. Another Southwest Key employee who has a disturbing record is Ernesto Padron. He worked as a U.S. Border Patrol agent for 13 years up until he was arrested on second-degree felony charges for possession and promotion of child pornography. Yet he was given direct access access to children when he was hired by an immigration shelter, according to reports. Anyone tempted to believe these cases of abuse are isolated should read ProPublica's investigative report, which found that there have been at least 125 calls to report sexual abuse taken place in the shelters since 2014. ProPublica writes, at other Southwest Key facilities, police reports and call logs from the last 5 years detail inappropriate relationships with staff, dozens of runaways, sexual contact among kids at the shelter, and other allegations of molestation by employees. In one case, ProPublica found a 46-year-old youth care worker in Tucson was convicted of groping a 15-year-old boy who had just arrived in the United States 5 days earlier. While pundits on the left may want to paint the sexual abuse in a political light to implicate the Trump administration, it is important to note the practice of housing children and teens began long before Trump ever took office. However, the Trump administration has done nothing to close Southwest Key facilities. Shockingly, hundreds of parents have already been deported without their children. That's the state for you. Turned a blind eye to the abuse of children. Moving on, blue privilege. Son of police chief pleads guilty to rape, gets only house arrest. And this is not the one I was going to cover, however. For some reason, my tabs got closed. As you can see, we are here at the Free Thought Project. 80-year-old grandma thrown in jail for smoking pot in her own home to treat her arthritis. Isn't that just nice? Put this old lady in jail over a plant. Another victim of the state. But we're going to talk about something else at the moment. Cop walks up to unarmed man, shoots him in the face, and then plants a weapon on him. And this comes from Matt Argust. This comes from out of New York. A police sergeant in New York was caught on video this week confronting an unarmed 21-year-old man and shooting him at point-blank range right in his face, and then planting a weapon on him. Sergeant Richard Blake claims the victim, Thavon Santana, was trying to rob him, but video and family members say otherwise. According to police, Blake claimed that Santana was attempting to rob him, so he had no choice but to shoot him in the face. However, police later admitted that Santana and Blake knew each other and may have been in a dispute over a woman. As the video shows, Blake and Santana appear to be having a verbal dispute on the sidewalk. At no time does Santana ever try to attack, pull a weapon, or otherwise physically assault Blake. However, as the video shows, Blake then pulls a gun from his waistband and fires off 3 rounds into Santana's face. After Blake shoots the otherwise entirely innocent man, he is then seen on video bending over his victim and placing what appears to be a shiny object next to him. This was likely done in an attempt to justify the shooting and frame his victim for robbery. There was only one problem with planting the evidence, however: the surveillance camera. Once Blake seemed to realize he was on surveillance video, he then picked up the object and put it in his pocket. After he was seen on video shooting an unarmed man in the face and planting evidence, Blake was not arrested. Not only was he not arrested, but he was not even taken off of the force. In response to the shooting, the NYPD released the following statement. In quotes, "This remains an open and fluid investigation, and the NYPD is coordinating closely with the Kings County District Attorney's Office. Video of the incident has been recovered and is under review. The video captures actions that raise serious questions and require further investigation. Recovered video is being shared with the Kings County DA. The member of the service involved in this incident remains on modified duty." And there's a fine example of blue privilege. You hear a lot about white privilege, but that is just a myth. Blue privilege, however, is easily provable. So, and there's another one or two. Okay, there you are. A young man with Down syndrome and mentality of a 3-year-old killed by cops for holding a toy gun. This is a person, or was, with no concept of, anything really, let alone the idea of cops and authority. A 20-year-old man with Down syndrome was shot and killed by police this week as he walked down the street with a toy gun. Police claim the young man, who, according to his mother, had the mentality of a 3-year-old, created a threat that needed to be dealt with deadly force. According to the victim's father, Richard Torrell, his son Eric grabbed a toy gun from his toy pile and disappeared overnight. "I woke up because Eric was gone," Richard Torrell told Expressen. "I went out and looked for him. I saw police cars on the street. 3 police officers shot him in the stomach." As the Independent reports, police have been called after Eric reportedly showed up. Police had been called after Eric reportedly showed the small toy gun to neighbors, who contacted authorities believing it was real. Local media reports state 3 police officers had shot him in the stomach after a attending the incident. He was taken to the hospital but later died from his injuries. The Swedish police authority said officers had opened fire after they deemed the situation threatening. See how they act the same across the board? This happened in Sweden. Eric's mother, Katrina Soderberg, described her son as wonderful and the world's most loving person. She added that he had suffered from autism as well as Down syndrome and had the mental age of a 3-year-old, struggling with speech and usually only using the word mom. We are completely destroyed. We are in shock. I cannot believe it's true, Miss Soderberg told Stockholm-based newspaper Aftonbladet. So, and of course her own Stockholm syndrome shows right here in this quote. She says, of course it was unfortunate that he had the gun for some reason. He was a 20-year-old Down syndrome patient with autism playing with a toy. But why do they have to kill him? Why not shoot him in the foot? And from 3 policemen, you cannot be shot by a piece of plastic. Right? There's another one. Another one. Count's wife admits to repeated sex with a child, gets no jail, keeps her teacher's license. This comes from Matt Argus as well. Coming out of Brooklyn, New York, or Bronx, New York. A Bronx school teacher who is also the wife of a Rockland County Sheriff's deputy admitted to having sex with one of her students. Not only will she avoid jail, but she will also not lose her teaching license. Dory Myers is a 29-year-old social studies teacher in the public school system who apparently just learned the privilege, or privileges, of marrying a cop. This month, she pled guilty to a criminal sex act with a child, which is a Class D felony and requires her to register as a sex offender. According to court records, Myers was arrested on January 19th of this year and immediately pled not guilty. At the time, her attorney said that she is a model citizen who looks forward to clearing her name. This teacher didn't exactly clear her name, but she did get incredibly lax treatment, especially considering the fact that the state of New York currently holds tens of thousands of people in jails for nonviolent drug crimes. Myers entered her guilty plea a day earlier than she was supposed to in an apparent attempt to avoid the media swarm. However, the New York Post obtained all the details of the trial, and they are nothing short of infuriating. According to the Post, prosecutors requested that Justice Michael Orbus sentenced Myers to 2 years in prison and ordered that she surrender her New York State teaching certificate. Instead, Orbus promised to give her 10 years probation. Defense lawyer Andrew Stahl said Myers will be fired by the City Department of Education and won't be working for them anymore, but asked the judge not to make her give up her license, according to a court transcript obtained by the Post. And this is one of the reasons why my family is avoiding sending my daughter to public school. My sons are old enough to take care of themselves now. I mean, they let these people get away with their crimes. Meanwhile, like this article said, you got thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are locked up for nonviolent offenses like possession of marijuana or even distribution. And they harmed nobody. So anyway, I mean, this keeps going and going and going. Health Department shuts down 7-year-old's lemonade stand to protect society from unlicensed lemonade. Israeli citizen thrown in prison for a poem about Palestinian resistance. Man. Anyway, I thought I'd share these atrocities with you. But the general public would never recognize them as being that. They recognize them as being somebody doing their job. I mean, it is an atrocity to send an 80-year-old grandmother to jail for smoking pot. It is an atrocity to murder a 20-year-old Down syndrome / autism patient. It is an atrocity to shoot unarmed people in the face over a dispute about a woman. It is an atrocity to allow a cop's wife to get away with sexually assaulting one of her students. It is an atrocity that these camps or detention centers has pedophiles, convicted pedophiles working in them. And it's also an atrocity for the worker at the detention center to sexually assault these kids while having HIV. This is why I continue to say we need to kill the state so we can be free.